Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for one of those random fragrance videos. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, whatever. If you want to, I appreciate it. Thanks. Today, I'm going to do a video about fragrances. Were they worth the hype or not? To me. And of course, there's lots of fragrances, so I'm not going to do every fragrance. Maybe I'll turn this into a video series, but I'll give you my opinion on it and my experience with it. And I think something to take home from this is something that I've always said. There's so many fragrances that can get you compliments as long as it's within reason, right? So just find a fragrance that you like, and believe it or not, again, as long as it's not too out there, it probably has the potential to get compliments, okay? Because I've gotten compliments on fragrances that people say don't get compliments. And I've also even had negative reactions to fragrances that people say are popular. So find something that you like. Anyway, so talking about this, Aventus, one of the biggest hype fragrances of all time, obviously. Maybe the biggest hype fragrance of all time. Was Aventus worth the hype? Yes, I think Aventus is worth the hype. It's, it smells good to me. It's not something that I really wear. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last time that I've worn it, but did I get compliments on it when I wore it? Yes, I have had many, many, many compliments on Aventus. So I would say, yes, it is worth the hype. Another fragrance that when I was getting into the community, the other one besides Aventus that I feel like was the main hyped one, and I would say more so than Green Irish Tweed, a lot of people hyped up Millesime Imperial. And this is a good example of just buy what you like, because personally, I thought that Silver Mountain Water smelled better. But so many people were always talking about, oh man, Millesime Imperial, it gets so many compliments, all this kind of thing. So I ended up just getting a decant of Silver Mountain Water, and I got a full bottle of Millesime Imperial. And I've said before, I have very, 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 very rarely have I gotten compliments on Millesime Imperial, to the point that when I have gotten compliments on Millesime Imperial, I have been shocked. Whereas Silver Mountain Water is actually a good compliment getter for me. I've gotten a number of compliments on Silver Mountain Water. So this is a good example of what I tell people is you don't need to get your favorite YouTuber's favorite fragrance. Just go to whatever top 10 person you watch, whatever. You don't have to get their number one, their number two, their number three. You could get their 8, 9, 10. And that might be, if those are the ones you like, guess what? They probably can get compliments for you. So don't fall into this trap of just because someone said this is the best thing that you should get it, because if you don't like it as well, I mean, there's no guarantees, right? So I wish I would have gotten a full bottle of Silver Mountain Water, although I do have one now, but just an example of that. But so I would say Millesime Imperial smells okay. For me personally, not worth the hype. One that gets a lot of hype in the community the past so many years is, let's talk about some Killian fragrances. Angel's Share. Is Angel's Share worth the hype? I will say for me personally, I don't like Angel's Share. It does nothing for me. I don't care for it whatsoever. However, I will say it is a fragrance that has, like Aventus and some other fragrances that I've mentioned, it is a fragrance that is in sort of the common knowledge of fragrances. I do hear normies, let's call it, if you could even call it that. I do hear normal people even talk about Angel's Share. I do know many girls who like Angel's Share. So is it worth the hype? Yes, I hear people like it in real life too a lot, but guess what? I don't like it, so I don't wear it. I don't have it. Besides, I had a small sample of it, and I still have never finished my sample because I don't like it. I don't care for it. Two other fragrances, or let's say three other fragrances from by Killian that are maybe some of the more hyped would be Back to Black, Straight to Heaven, and Love. I will say Back to Black, I don't think was worth the hype. Again, another example of I bought it because I heard so many people loved it, even though I wasn't in love with it. It smells just okay to me. It's all right. Do I get compliments on it? I have had compliments on Back to Black, but not an extreme compliment getter for me personally. And it is one in my experience that when girls have said that they like it, they do say that it smells like baby powder. So, Straight to Heaven is another one that got a lot of hype when it first came out in the community. I do think Straight to Heaven and is worth the hype. I do like how it smells. I like the extreme version better. Unfortunately, not sold anymore because I like more vanilla. But Straight to Heaven, I've told the example or story, I guess, of it is one of, if maybe the only fragrance that I can think of where when I first smelled it, I was like, oh, I don't think I can wear this. It smells too boozy. It's too out there. And then I was like, oh, I can actually wear this. And I have gotten compliments on it. I thought that it might smell too old, but now, again, it's not something that I wear a lot. I do think it is a vibe, but I have been surprised by the compliments that I have gotten on it. And I myself, again, it's maybe the only fragrance that I can really think of that I changed my opinion on it. And I'm like, I actually like this. And then besides that, Love is a big fragrance that has been, hyped. I do think Love is worth the hype. I like how it smells. I have gotten compliments on it, so I think that's worth the hype. What about stuff like Dior Sauvage? Yes, Dior Sauvage, huge compliment getter. Another fragrance that is in the masses, so to speak. Everyone, quotation marks, everyone knows it. Sometimes I wear a fragrance and I've had girls say, oh my God, you're wearing my favorite fragrance, Dior Sauvage. Like, even if it's not Dior Sauvage. So yes, I have. I do think it's worth the hype. It is a fragrance that is very popular. The Elixir, it's weird. It's not a fragrance that I hear people talk about a lot, but when I ask people, they do know it. And when I ask sales associates, and I've worked for Dior before, it is a fragrance that it sells well. Is it worth the hype? I guess it is. Is it still hyped? I'll say it's worth the hype. It doesn't do anything for me per se. I think it's more of like a daddy kind of fragrance and more of a vibe kind of fragrance. And if I wanted that kind of daddy or older vibe, there's just other fragrances that I would rather wear. Another fragrance that is in the masses, so to speak, Baccarat Rouge 540. Do I think it's worth the hype? I think it smells okay. Not something that I wear, but I can tell you, yes. Oh man, it is, even when I go to other countries, girls will be like, my favorite fragrance is Baccarat Rouge 540. Extremely, extremely popular. So yes, I do think it's worth the hype. Lots of compliments, that kind of thing. What about stuff like the Le Mals? Ultra Le Mal. I'm going to be honest. I actually really like Ultra Mal, so I think it's worth the hype. Do I think it gets as many compliments as, say, the newer hype one has been? Obviously, the Elixir, and I think they have the plum one. Is it whatever the new Elixir one is, and there's the old Elixir, which is a couple years ago. That one, the gold, the tobacco honey one. I hear about that fragrance so fucking much from people. That is a extremely, extremely popular fragrance. I think, Le Mal Elixir, Ultra Le Mal smells better. I just kind of prefer that, but I'll say they're both worth the hype. What about La Nuit de l'Homme? Yes, worth the hype. Most of these, I guess there's only, we're changing it now. Now it seems most are worth the hype, right? La Nuit de l'Homme, again, not a fragrance that I wear. I actually have an old bottle of it. I have gotten many compliments on it. For me though, I have one old unopened bottle that I probably will sell because I just don't, it's not me. I've gotten lots of compliments on it when I wore it, but it's not me. But yes, many compliments when I wore it. And I don't know about the reformulated ones because I don't have those, so I can't speak on that. What about Dolce & Gabbana, the stuff? Well, I've said many times before. Dolce & Gabbana, the one. My favorite fragrance of all time, dude. So many compliments on it. Great compliment getter for me. And I love how it smells. Is it worth the hype? Yes. Do I recommend it though? No, not anymore. It has been reformulated to hell. It's not the same fragrance anymore. I do think though that the new EDP smells really, really good, but it is terrible performance. It's notoriously bad performance, I would say. Although this is the made in Italy one. So for me, if I was going to get Dolce & Gabbana, the one now, which again, I cherishing my very old bottle, the little that I have left, I don't think the first reformulations are worth it for me personally. Not the EDT or the EDP, but the newest EDT and EDP. I think the EDP, if I had to get one now, I would get the EDP now. Again, I'll put some affiliate links if you care, but if I had to get one now, I would get the EDP now. Because I just think the EDP still smells awesome, but it just performs so terribly. So I'll say, is it worth the hype? Maybe the old one, maybe not anymore, unless you really want to go, you don't mind spraying yourself all the time, right? 1 million. 1 million is a fragrance that the only fragrance I can think of where I've gotten a compliment on it and someone said, you smell so good, but you smell really fake. I was like, okay, kind of a weird compliment. I've talked about that before. Is it worth the hype? I'm going to be honest. I don't hear people talk about 1 million much anymore. And even when it was really popular, maybe it's because I'm not a person that goes clubbing or something like that. I can't say it's a fragrance that I ever heard people talk about a lot in real life. Where I am, have I gotten some compliments on it? Yes, but not a ton. But I have talked to some girls who really love it. So I'm going to be iffy. I guess maybe it depends on your scene or your vibe. I guess maybe. Obviously, Pure Malt and Pure Havane, they were two extremely hyped fragrances in the community. Pure Havane, I'm going to be honest, not a fragrance that I ever got a lot of compliments on when I've worn it. Pretty rare. I've told the most interesting compliment I ever got on Pure Havane is no joke from a dude. He's like, it was a stoned dude. The dude was stoned. And he was like, dude, are you wearing Amen? That's like my favorite fragrance. No joke. That's probably the best compliment I've ever gotten on Pure Havane. I don't think it smells bad, but I don't think it was worth the hype in my experience. I mean, of course, you watch YouTube and I've heard other people get compliments on it, but me, I never experienced that. Pure Malt, though, yes, I've gotten lots of compliments on Pure Malt. So I'll say Pure Malt is worth the hype. Stuff like Tobacco Vanille and Tuscan Leather, probably the main Tom Ford stuff back in the day. Again, I've said this before. I really love Tobacco Vanille, one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Have I gotten compliments on it? Yeah, not a ton, but most people like the smell. I've said this before. It's one of those fragrances that, in my experience, it's that you actually see online where people are like, most people think it's a good smell, but maybe it might smell like a candle, or maybe it might smell like to Christmas, or it's a good smell, but not like a fragrance kind of smell. I have experienced those kind of comments in real life. I think it smells great. Again, I have gotten compliments on it, but not an extreme compliment getter. Tuscan Leather. I like how it smells, Tuscan Leather, for what it's worth. I've only just recently, maybe in the past 6 months, can actually enjoy Tuscan Leather again. It's one of the hardest fragrances it took me to actually be able to smell correctly after I had COVID, which would have been 3.5 years ago, maybe now, or something like that. It took a very long time for me to be able to enjoy Tuscan Leather. So are those worth the hype? I have gotten compliments on Tuscan Leather, but rarely. And I have actually gotten compliments on Tuscan Leather. Actually doing the Tuscan Leather and Aventus combo. I've gotten compliments on that. So I guess I've gotten compliments on both of these. Are they worth the hype? Maybe. Is that the answer you want? I like them so. Reflection Man. I feel like that's the most talked about wash fragrance back when I was getting into fragrances. I think it smells good, but is it worth the hype? I have not experienced that compliment wise for me when I've worn it. And it is one of the only fragrances that I've worn and I've gotten a negative reaction to. I have had actually, and I know it's rare, but I have had negative reactions to Reflection Man. But you know what? Even me, myself, when I've worn Reflection Man, sometimes I do smell the tortilla smell out of it myself. It just depends on how my nose is feeling that day. So sometimes it just tickles your nose in a different way, but that is a fragrance I can say I like how it smells. But do I think it's worth the hype? No, I have not experienced that in my life wearing it. Pacific Rock Moss. That's a fragrance that's getting a lot of hype. Maybe 5 years ago or something like that. I'm going to say this one is worth the hype. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. I've had a little decant of it that I wear sparingly, and I've gotten, a lot of compliments on it. I'm going to say Pacific Rock Moss is worth the hype. Frapon 1270. I feel like when people used to talk about Frapon, it'd always be Luministe or 1270. And I always think that maybe the hype for these fragrances died down pretty quickly because if you're old enough to be in FragCom when this kind of stuff was going on, I would see multiple people on like, say, maybe it's like Base Notes or maybe it was either or Fragnatica or Base Notes. It might've been both. And YouTube reviewers were saying that they were getting leaking and cracked bottles of Frapon 1270. So I always think that I wonder if Frapon is, they're still salty about their manufacturers because maybe it never kept on getting hyped because you would just read or hear about so many people were getting bottles that were cracked or like leaking from them. But personally for me, I do think 1270 smells awesome. I actually really like how 1270 smells. Not a fragrance I wear a lot, so I cannot actually tell you how well it does with girls. I mean, I should wear it. I mean, thanks to Palm Tree. Palm Tree bought me a full bottle, so I probably should wear it more because I really do like it. I just don't wear it a lot. But I think it smells awesome. So in terms of smell, I think it's worth the hype. Compliments, I can't tell you. And just a few more before we stop. And then maybe I'll do another video if people want to do this. I mean, I've smelled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fragrances. Not thousands and thousands like other people in the community, but hundreds and hundreds, right? So just a few more. Chanel stuff. You hear a lot of people talk about Bleu de Chanel and all that kind of stuff. I've actually never had a big bottle of Bleu de Chanel, so not something I've worn a lot, but stuff that I have worn that got a lot of hype in the community at one point or another is Allure Homme Sport, and the Extreme version. The Extreme version, yes, I've gotten a lot of compliments on. I've never had a lot of it, so I don't wear it a lot, but when I've worn it, I have gotten a lot of compliments on it. Allure Homme Sport, I feel like back in the day, people were always saying, oh, get Allure Homme Sport or Versace Pour Homme. Is that the one that people would argue which one is better? I just ended up getting Allure Homme Sport. I do get compliments on Allure Homme Sport. I can't compare it to the Eau de Fresh or not. Maybe it's just, God, it's been, you smell so many fragrances. I think it's just the regular Versace Pour Homme, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know what I'm talking about in the comments. But yes, I've gotten compliments on Allure Homme Sport. I think Allure Homme Sport for me is just, I think of it like that quintessential sort of, it's a cologne. Not like, I know that's not very descriptive. Of course I could be descriptive, but it just, I think like this is like a dumb reach cologne. Let me spray on something. I don't want to be offensive. I just want to smell fresh and clean kind of thing. It just is like, I got it because I'm like, this just seems like a quintessential dumb reach fragrance. That's why I got it. And I mean, I don't wear it a lot, but yes, I've gotten compliments on it. And the final one I'll do, and again, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know, is I'll do Eros. I mean, God, they have so many Eroses now. I think they have like they have like a Eros EDT, an EDP, and a Parfum or some shit like that. I don't know about any of those. I just know the regular Eros. I will say I think Eros is worth the hype. However, and I've gotten compliments on it. However, it is *, another fragrance where, believe it or not, I have gotten a negative reaction to, and a girl told me she did not like it, which is rare, but it happens. And I've told the story before. You know what this girl's favorite fragrance was? Terre de Mes. So, I mean, hearing that, maybe you're like, okay, I guess she doesn't like Eros, you know. But again, that's why it goes to show you, there's probably no perfect fragrance, dude. So my recommendation is always find some fragrances that you like, because as long as it's not too out there, it's probably capable of getting compliments, dude. Okay? All right. Anyway, remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel. If you can, I appreciate it. Thanks. I'll put some affiliate links if I can find any of these. If you want to support the channel and check them out. Although I would, honestly, you should be wary of your money. You should test it before you do any of that. But if you just want to blind buy something, blind buy it. Although, like I said before, for Dolce & Gabbana, the one, please know which one you're buying, because so many of them be reformulated. I don't recommend any reformulated of the very first reformulated stuff, not the EDT or the EDP. But I do think the new EDP, if it's the new one, does smell good. Just know that the performance is terrible. I'm just reiterating this. Make sure you're getting the correct one, because the original Dolce & Gabbana, the one is just, I don't want you to think that you can readily find that one. It's just reformulated to hell. And I did that whole deep dive about that one. Anyway, the end.